The Lead. Sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome everybody to The Lead. This is Greg Tinker, and I am joined today by head Carbon Hill coach DJ Emerson. And we're glad to have Coach Emerson on set with us today to talk about the state of football at Carbon Hill. Congratulations. You head coach at Curry, moved over to Carbon Hill. Talk a little bit about the transition from Curry to Carbon Hill and how that opportunity came about.
I had a prior relationship with the current principal at Carbon Hill, Mr. Sage Beatty. He was the assistant principal when I got hired at Curry. So we struck up a relationship there, and I really wasn't interested in leaving Curry. I was dug deep in trying to improve that program and build that. But he reached out to my principal, asked for permission to speak with me, and when he reached out, me and my wife sat down and started, weighing some possibilities and opportunities there, and I just thought it would be a better opportunity for me and my family, and we made the decision. It was a tough decision. Some people think, I was, out the door trying to leave, and that was very not the case, but after weighing decisions, we thought it would be best an opportunity, and thankful for that opportunity.
Moved down a classification to 3A from 4A, but in a region that's pretty difficult, right? So if you want to say helping yourself in that regard, you moved on to one of the toughest regions in North Alabama.
Very tough. There's not, even our non-region games are very difficult. We got an opponent this week, Decatur Heritage, and they have a 9th grade freshman running back that I fully anticipate to be a Division I player along with several others. But going back to the region, anytime, you mentioned the likes of Gordo, Fayette, Winfield, they're the upper echelon, and then Oakman was the 4 seed last year. Just a team like Oakman being a 4 seed, which is really good. Coach Hall does a great job over there. I have a lot of respect for him. He's one of my mentors, but there's not an off week. Tarrant, Midfield, us, and then Oak Grove's non-region. Next week we go to Winston County, and then Phil Campbell rounds out our non-region, and they're all quality playoff teams. I think I read one of the articles that was previewing our season, and we play like 7 previous playoff teams in a row. So it's going to be challenging every week. So we'll have to do a good job as a staff and as a team to be up for those challenges.
So let's talk a little bit about your history. We'll come back around to the football team and the season, but for folks who don't know where you grew up and your experience to get to where you are now, talk a little bit about that.
I'm a 2004 graduate of Hamilton High School. Played 4 years of ball there. Actually played all 3 sports. After high school, I went all the way to Pasadena, California. I lived in LA and played at a junior college there for 1 year. Moved back, went to UNA for a semester and was on the team during the spring, but decided after that I just wanted to be a student. So went to graduated from the University of Alabama in 2009, and my very first job was at Maddox Middle School in 2009, as far as being a coach in the school setting.
And so you've worked your way through coaching, starting at the middle school. Talk a little bit about, for people who may be not as aware of the importance of what happens at the middle school level to the success of a high school. Talk a little bit about that from your perspective now that you're a head coach.
Middle school is very important. I hear, or it's rumored hearing that it's not as important, or people don't treat them as important. That is your team in the future. That is your future. And so both places I've been at Curry as a head coach, I've really wanted to put a strong emphasis on our middle school. Me being a former middle school coach, I wanted to be a sponge, and I wanted to be kind of a watered down version of our high school, but I wanted to do a great job there, so that transition when they became high school players was a smooth transition, and that's what I want our middle school guys doing, even all the way down to our toy bowl teams. Carbon Hill doesn't have a toy bowl team, and that's something they haven't had for the past 2 years, and that's like number one of the top things on my list to get back, is to make sure we have a youth program, and that I'm funneling and then coaching those coaches up, and them understanding our offense and defensive philosophy. I know they can't do everything that we do on varsity, and same way with middle school, but if they can just understand our cadence and then a few formations and try to do those things, it will make each step, easier. And then we were able to, when they come to me as a varsity player, we're not really having to go back to day one stuff. We can continue to build and to grow. And I think you'll see improvement each step of the way, the more years that you're able to unify those types of teams.
Yeah.
But I think that, being in middle school is important. And having a quality staff that wants to work and understand the things you're trying to do, it's very, very important.
Well, I spent most of my career at the middle school level, junior high, middle school level, and I was adamant that they learn how to do things fundamentally correctly, because I knew that if I did my job, then guys like you didn't have to reteach everything. You could take them and teach them the bigger aspects of the game. But if they came to you knowing how to, I didn't coach football, but in this case, to block and tackle and do the basic things the right way, then not all you have to do, but at least you don't have to go back and spend time reteaching, right? They come to you and you're ready now to put in the schemes that they're going to need to know intellectually at that level to play at a higher level.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with fundamentals. We work on fundamentals every week and daily. And like you said, if they have that base knowledge at beginning stage at a younger age, we're able to advance those fundamentals and then go from one thing to the next. It's vital if you want to have a successful varsity program.
So you worked your way from middle school. You were an assistant coach in different ways. So talk a little bit about the difference between being an assistant and a head coach, and maybe as you're talking about that, something you learned from coordinators or head coaches as you were an assistant that has helped you. That's kind of a double question. So the difference between being an assistant and a head coach, and then your experiences as an assistant and maybe some of those that influenced you.
The number one difference that I can tell you that anybody asks me that, it comes right off the bat. Most of the time when I was an assistant, I could focus on my work while we were at school and while we were working at the field house. And then when I went home, I could kind of turn it off. I could, be a dad, be a husband, whatever it may be. And that solely be my focus. My phone wasn't ringing with questions or this and that. And now, head coach, it never stops.
Right.
And not really with the notifications in the phone. You can always put that away, but it's like the wheels just are always turning. I'm always thinking of ways to improve. What can we do better? What do we do bad that we've got to change? And honestly, it just never stops. I've lost a ton of weight. I don't get near as much of sleep as I used to. The hair's a lot grayer, but I enjoy it and love those challenges. But that's the number one thing. The wheels just doesn't stop. What was the next?
The assistant jobs you had and what you maybe learned from people along the way.
I can't talk enough about the quality of coaches that I've worked with over my career. At one point, the staff at Jasper, you got Ryan Hall, who's the head coach at Oakman. I worked for John Holliday. He was actually my high school head coach. He was the reason I kind of got in the area to begin with. Heath Bruner was eventually the head coach at Jasper. Now he's the offense coordinator at Homewood. Bart Lockhart, who was the head coach at Summerton Christian and at Dora. And I'm going to leave a few guys out, But the quality of coaches and the quality of ball and the quality of men and just me being able to work under them, it's so important and so valuable to my growth and my development as a head coach. I'm still trying to learn, but I have a page in my phone of notes, and it's just, I knew I wanted to be a head coach from day one. So I kind of started it when I became assistant. And anything that I liked or anything that I thought was unique, I just plugged it in those notes. And over the years, it's grown vastly. And I always try to, I guess going into coaching, I thought I had to be this way or to be, my coaches, I had to be just like them. And as I got older, hey, he's successful doing it that way. He's successful doing it that way. You don't have to fit into one mold. Mm-hmm. And it really helped me find a way to coach and be myself and be genuine and really, find out what I wanted, the values and morals and standards that I wanted to instill in programs. I just kind of got little bits and pieces as I went along. And then when I became the opportunity to be a head coach, it was already there, and I already knew what I wanted and the direction that I wanted to go and some of the things that I wanted to do. And the flip side of that, some things I didn't want to do, some things that I didn't agree with or I didn't like, and or maybe when I was a player I didn't necessarily like. So, I don't want to do that as a head coach, and I don't want to make my players do that. But I can't say enough about the mentors and the men that I got to work for. I always prided myself. Maybe I didn't know a lot, but I always wanted to work hard and I always wanted to be there. And if it was to help the guy that I was working under, if it was just to take out his trash or to write his notes or do something, I always prided myself, and nothing was too small for me to be able to do. And I always try to tell my younger coaches, my assistant coaches, don't be afraid to do the dirty work. Don't be afraid to work and roll your sleeves up. And coaches observe that, coaches see that, and they recognize that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to advance my career the way I did, is just because I was willing to work. Put the time in.
So as a head coach, you're responsible for everything. As the old saying goes, the buck stops with you. Part of that is the culture of a program, and that might be something today that's overused, but it's a real thing. There is such thing as a culture. As a classroom teacher, every class, it sounds crazy, but every class had a personality. If you had 6 periods a day, every period, that particular class had a different personality. And in the same way, schools and communities have a culture, and particular programs have a culture. So you've walked into 2 different schools where things have been challenging in terms of number of wins, and part of that has to do with number of players playing. It has to do with regions that your teams have been in, which makes it that much more difficult. But just in general, philosophically, what's the biggest challenge about coming to a place and trying to establish a kind of culture that's yours?
There's several challenges. To just try to combat that, I just clearly try to establish standards and expectations. I think in any place or any time you're trying to do something, if what you want is not clearly defined and clearly established, how can people follow that? So I have a PowerPoint or whatever I go over with the guys, and it's just a constant daily reminder of the things that are expected of them and what I want to see and how I want things done. And then just me modeling that day in and day out. But challenges, you can make a list this long of, social media. There's so many other things. You're talking about numbers that kids want to do, the time commitment. Football's not easy. It's hot. There's a lot of things you can do in the summer. You got to work in the summer. There's a lot of factors that kind of play into all that as far as numbers wise. Numbers, everybody I talk to across the state, numbers are down. So you're having to play more with less people. So they're having to play more on Friday nights. You have more risk of injuries sometimes with that, and your numbers already being down. So that maybe contributes to some of the wins or losses. But getting back to a culture, my word is all in, okay? And going back to the Toy Bowl, the middle school, the booster club, the parents, the faculty, I want a clear vision, a clear standard, and I want us to be all moving forward, all right? When I got to Curry, and same way at Carbon Hill, you could probably fill up the entire room with all the negativity that's happened in the years past. All right, I wanted them to throw all that negativity out the window. We can't do anything about bad or good what's happened in the past. All we can affect is what's moving forward in the future. And we're probably still going to have a bunch of negatives, but let's not broadcast the negatives. Let's broadcast all the positive things we do. And I try to do that as a coach. All right, you may mess up 14 times and I'm going to correct you, but you may do one thing right, and I'm really going to let you know that one thing you done right. And really try to do that, tell you what you done thing right, and then come back behind that and try to correct you and some of the things you can improve on. But that culture, we want everybody to be all in. You got to be bought in. You may not agree with everything. I've learned quickly, going back to between assistant and head coach, it doesn't matter if I say yes or no. About 50% of the people is going to disagree with me no matter what.
Sure.
But I'm going to be able to lay my head on the pillow at night and sleep, a little bit of sleep. But if I'm always going to do what I think's right, what's right for the program, what's right for my players, and for the entire school. And as long as we're doing that and our players are trying to do that, everything else kind of fall into place. But just all in, moving forward, trying to be as positive as we can and not dwell over the negatives.
I try to remind myself that there's a guy in our state that has sort of a godlike status by the name of Saban, who makes lots and lots of money and has won lots of championships. But on any given Saturday, including this one, there will be a whole lot of armchair quarterbacks and others, right, who, like you say, will disagree and disagree vehemently that he should have done this, in spite of the fact that they've invested not a single minute in a single practice and know infinitely less than Nick Saban. And so I tried to keep that in mind as a coach and as a teacher and as a leader in the church setting, that you do your best to lead with integrity. You do your best to lead with a clear, as you say, a clear vision, positive vision, and do all the things that you believe are the right things to do, so that at night when you lay your head on the pillow, as you say, that you can have peace of mind. And to quote John Cougar Mellencamp, who you probably don't know, but
I actually do. I actually do.
An honest man's pillow is his peace of mind,
That's
right?
That's right.
And so to be able to do that, knowing the satisfaction you've done the best you can do for those that you're given charge of, is what you can do. And whatever else is going on, I guess to quote Coach Saban, is just kind of noise, right? It's distraction. So hoping that happens and at Carbon Hill. And so with that in mind, what are your expectations heading into this season? We've already talked about the region, the difficulty of the region, the number of kids that'll be playing both ways, and you're always really at any level, but especially once you get 4A and below, you're always a player or two, an injury or two away from it affecting your season in a very challenging way. So talk to us a little bit about what it looks like for Carbon Hill this year.
My expectations is just to strive daily to get a little bit better. We don't want to be the same. We don't want to go backwards. We want to make sure that no matter what happens, our character, our integrity, all that stays in place and exactly how we want it to be positive, and we want to be model citizens and young men. I told them on the practice field it was a challenging day. I think it was Monday. Didn't have a lot of success both sides of the ball. I heard some bickering. I heard maybe some choice language, and I told the guys, I said, guys, I haven't heard any of this all year. I said, we haven't had a lot of adversity. Even our jamboree, a lot of positive things. Wasn't much adversity. Kind of coasted through. Everybody's on a high note. But that Monday it was really challenging, and I told them, I said, guys, we can win by 150. Or we can lose by 150, and we're going to act the same way. We can be disappointed, and that's fine, but our integrity and the way we handle ourselves and what type of teammate we are, that's never going to change. And, it goes back to having that standard and that expectations. I just want to make sure those are met daily. We're going to lay the foundation. I had no intentions of leaving Curry. I have no intentions of leaving here. Me and my family love being a part of Walker County and living here. And I want to build this thing and do the things the right way. I'm not in it for 1 year to try to do this or do that. I want to do things the right way and continue to build each game, each practice, each week, and each year to try to get a little bit better, to try to improve, on fundamental things, and then try to improve as a person. My success, I get asked all the time. I don't really know my success this year. The wins and losses, yeah, people can judge me for that. But what type of husbands, what type of fathers these young men are going to be in the 5 to 10 years, that's how I'm going to truly judge my success. Sure. And if they're great husbands, great fathers, they're trying to come back to the community and serve their community, it's going to be a win regardless. Sure.
Well, and in reality, it's hard for some people to accept when they have high expectations for their son, because, as a kid, if a young man says, one day I want to play college football or play in the NFL, well, you've played some college football, you know how difficult it is to get there, right? And the truth of it is, just the plain truth, of all of the kids playing football in Walker County this year, there will be a small handful that have an opportunity to play college football. There will be an even smaller handful who finish playing college football. But they all will be, as you just said, all of them are going to be married at some point. They're going to be a husband. Most of them are going to have children. They're going to be a member of the community, working within that community, being a part of it, either through their kids going to school or being a part of a church or some other organization. So you're absolutely right to say that the biggest win of all for anybody who coaches is to see the character development of a young man or a young lady moving always in a positive direction, so that when they have an opportunity to begin their life as an adult, that life is moving in a trajectory that's going to promote success and is going to bring them back to the community to enhance and make their community even better. So that's what I hear you saying is your primary investment.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I was put in this position to, by the good Lord to mentor young men, to be, this day and age, they don't have a lot of positive role models. I tell people all the time, the media portrays the negative role models. It's like the more bad things you do, the more things that are publicized, that they see out there. So that, they're constantly fed with the things they shouldn't do, and maybe the way they should act this way to be cool or that. And I want me and my staff to constantly be that positive role model, that they can be something different, that they can be this, that maybe the media or whatever portrays or whatever. But yeah, what kind of husbands, what kind of fathers, how are they serving their community, or being a part of that is really what we're striving to do. And I will continue to strive to do that for as long as I'm able to do this.
Well, I truly hope that the folks in Carbon Hill embrace that with you and support that, because it does matter, the community getting behind the team and being positive, and it not being all about the final score on a Friday night, but about the development of young men to grow up to be exactly what we've talked about. Well, Coach, everybody who's being interviewed is signing our leaderboard, so if you would do the honor, please.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been a wonderful interview, and I'm so thankful that you're willing to do this. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again sometime during the season, perhaps, and
Yes,
if not, somewhere else along the way. It's been our pleasure today, our honor to have with us head coach DJ Emerson at Carbon Hill. If you're a Carbon Hill fan or supporter, get behind the team, be positive, and help Coach Emerson to get everybody all in. I'm in, Coach, so everybody else get all in as well. So this is Greg Tinker for the lead and for DJ Emerson saying good afternoon.
The Lead, sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.